Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to. Can you hear me? Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Money Doctor on UIC Liberty TV. My name is Joseph Patterson, and I am the Money Doctor. I want to talk to you today about COVIDnomics. COVIDnomics is a word I have coined to explain the economics of COVID and how this is affecting your lives. In particular, I want to talk about a post that I put up on Facebook. And the post says, and I wonder if I can share that with you. Let me see. I will try in a bit if I can share that with you. But the post says to say no to force and fraud. And I want to talk to you today about force and fraud and how some in our society seek to use force and fraud to get us to do something that we might not otherwise do if the choice was left up to us and we were able to make an intelligent decision. So I am inviting a number of persons to, if you're watching this from anywhere, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, to please feel free to write in your question. But there is a big problem happening right now around this COVID thing, and all is not as it seems. Now, I'm not into conspiracy theories, but you must understand that conspiracies do exist. People conspire all the time. Politicians conspire with big business, for example, to win elections. And then when they win the elections, they conspire as to how they're going to defraud the um, the citizens. For example, you can see a situation where politicians and big business conspire to give large bailouts to big banks in the event of a financial crisis created by those very banks and by the policies of politicians. And so don't be afraid to talk about conspiracies. Don't feel like, something is wrong to say something is a conspiracy. And don't be put off by people saying that there's a conspiracy theory. So I want you to feel free to join me and ask questions and engage in the discussions about COVIDnomics and how that is affecting our lives today. I have one person here who has tuned in, Anita. Anita, how are you? Hello, Anita. Hello, Anita. Can you hear me? Anita, can you hear me? Can't hear you. All right. We also have another person here. Can you introduce yourself for me? Hello, sir. Can you introduce yourself? All right. So these persons are on, but for some reason I can't hear them, or maybe they can't hear me. But we're going to talk about this issue of the COVIDnomics. COVID is an economic as well as a health issue. Um, you should ask yourself the question, who has a vested interest in this financially? And how is that guiding what we are going through as you look at the unfolding of COVID? Now, I see a few things popping out of this that has become a trend. I see the government consistently pushing, and not just the Jamaican government, but international government. They push such things as stay-at-home orders. And when you tell people that they need to stay home because there's something dangerous out there, you take away their freedom. That's one. I see we get a lot of news every day. The news is about COVID and about the statistics, how many new cases we have, how many persons have died, and how the governments are taking new measures. Anita, can you hear me now? Okay, no answers there. So we're seeing what I call possibly fake news. Okay, and I'm very concerned about that because one of the biggest purveyor of fake news has been the very traditional media that we have learned to depend on, that we trust for our information. But I'm telling you that maybe we shouldn't be trusting these media outlets for all of our information. We should be questioning them. Let me welcome one of my guests here. Hello, sir. How are you doing today?
I'm great,
Good.
giving thanks.
Wonderful. Can you introduce yourself? Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Okay, my name is Owen Rowe.
Mr. Rowe. Good to see you, sir.
Yes, it's great,
Where in Jamaica are you?
well, I'm in St. Catherine,
St.
I mean,
Catherine. Okay.
yes, I'm living in St.
Well,
Catherine.
well, I grew up in St. Catherine partially, born in Kingston, but I grew up in a place called Meadowvale in close to Gregory Park. You know that area?
Yes, I had an uncle who lived there. Yeah, and he was a bus
Okay.
driver.
Excellent, excellent. So, Mr. Rowe, what, what you want to talk about today? What's your question or comment?
Okay, what are you hearing me?
Yeah, man, I can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead.
Okay, what I want to talk about today, is that our nation is in a crisis.
Mm-hmm.
We have people among us who, for some reason, maybe it's that they are not literate
Mm-hmm.
or numerate. So therefore, they are being not literate. They are not um, apt to reasoning, thinking
Mm-hmm.
critically, in order to help themselves properly,
Right.
lawfully, respectfully, and truthfully, and also logically.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the duty of us who are a part of humanity to do what is in the best interest of what we call the vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And I, in my in my little corner here, I am doing my best to assist in bringing clarity to what is now um, an epidemic or a
Mm-hmm.
pandemic of conspiracies.
Okay. So bring it home for me now. Tell me something very specific. Do you have a question or you have a comment?
Yes. Um, why is it that no dissenting voice
Mm-hmm.
or persons with alternative views to what we now know as the traditional media has as what I'd call their narrative. Let me say it that way for now.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, the
So,
traditional media, those that we trust, they
yeah.
are they seem to be on one accord now,
Yeah,
and they
man.
are not
Everybody,
entertaining any dissenting voice or
Owen,
questioners.
let me tell you, every one of the big media houses are of one accord. Every one of the major political parties are of one accord. Governments around the world are unifying around one central message. And that central message is to enslave the human race by virtue of fear, using force, using fraud. So, what they're doing is they're trying to get all of us to be like sheep, and they're trying to channel us into one position. And I can be very blunt with you, Mr. Rowe, and tell you this, that the plan, the major plan, is, believe it or not, what I call socialism but not in the positive sense. You know, when people talk about socialism, they really mean a coming together, a solidarity, us caring and sharing for each other, caring for each other and sharing with each other. That's not what these people mean. What they want is centralized control. They want to control your economy. They want to control your health. They want to control your education. They want to control everything about you in the same way that a slave master controls a slave. If you remember on the slave plantation, they determine what you can learn or if you can even learn, right? For example, slaves were not allowed to learn to read. They control you by fear. They said if you don't do what we say, we're going to chop off your toe, beat you, rape you, sell your other half or your children. So they control you by fear, and they also control you with poverty, making sure that you're always dependent upon them. So they don't want you to become economically independent. That is why, under this so called pandemic that they have right now, they're literally taking away all of your independence by locking you down, destroying your jobs, destroying your businesses, even taking away your freedom to travel and your freedom to associate. When you take away all of those things from a human being, you're really turning them into something less than a human being. You're taking away their human rights and freedom. And why are they doing this? Why is it so critical for them to do this in this so called pandemic? They say it's to save lives. So all the other things which were taking away our lives didn't matter. But this one thing matters. Why? Because it's a dangerous virus which can be transmitted easily. And we must be afraid as to how this virus can be transmitted because look, we have statistics. We have statistics that show you that thousands and thousands and thousands of people have gotten this virus, and people are dying from this virus. Now, don't get me wrong, people are dying. Every day, people are dying. People die from cardiovascular disease. People die from pneumonia. People die from AIDS. People die from gunshot. People die from
But
all
we are
kinds of
not hearing. We are hardly hearing those
yeah.
things anymore.
So all of a sudden, Mr. Rowe, most of the other reasons for deaths have declined. Except here in Jamaica, murder is still rampant because you can't hide those statistics, right? But all so people are not dying as much from the flu anymore. They're not dying as much from cardiovascular disease anymore. They're not dying from old age anymore. Everything that they die from now is primarily COVID. Now, believe it or not, they want us to hate anything that people call conspiracy theory. But I am convinced that there is a conspiracy here. There's a conspiracy between big pharma, those who want to make sure that their pharmaceuticals can be sold. There's a conspiracy between politicians and those who control them, who are able to control their electability by affecting monies available to them, and so on and so forth. And we, the people, have been controlled by our education, where they have given us a form of education which makes us less apt to reason. But Mr. Rowe, there's another person on the call. I'm going to bring them in right now. 1 second. Hello, sir or miss. How are you? Who is? Please identify yourself now. All right. So no identification there. All right. Back out. So, Mr. Rowe, do you think that the current government of Jamaica and the press association, the media of Jamaica, is focused on critical thinking and analyzing the situation and giving us a balanced diet that will allow us to make meaningful decisions as individuals and as a collective?
And the answer is absolutely not.
Yes.
What, as I said already, I realize they have alternative reasoning as dissent.
Hmm.
They won't facilitate it. There are a lot of information out there that should be brought into the reasoning and have
Yes.
it properly dissected and explained. Yeah, like
Hmm.
why is it all right? One of the questions that I would ask, why is it I should take a vaccine for a virus that can kill, that is not going to protect me? I'm still able to contract the virus from
Hmm.
that vaccine, even though
Yeah.
I take that vaccine.
Yes.
And and if I don't take the vaccine, I can still contract the virus. It's better for me to take my chances without it. Yeah, because there are
Absolutely.
side effects that I could get from that vaccine that I would not get not taking it.
Right.
And there
And
are a
that
whole lot of other things.
and that choice should be yours, Mr. Rowe. And it seems as if
Exactly.
the government
And
wants to take away that choice from you.
right now I am seeing what I call um engineered consumerism, because I've seen it started. You lock the
Hmm.
people down for a time, and when you
Yes.
let them out, all they do is run to spend. Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
And
Yes.
it's having the reverse effect, because if you say that you're trying to prevent gatherings. On
Hmm.
Tuesday of
Yes.
this week, I was in Spanish Town, and I mean every Western Union, every MoneyGram,
Yes.
the
Full of
JPS,
people. Full of
the
people.
National Water Commissions.
Yes.
There were lines like for a quarter of a mile.
Absolutely.
People want to get their business done.
Yeah.
Um,
So Mr. Rowe,
I was saying,
what this is doing, let's say the virus is what it is. There's a virus, there's a deadly virus going around and it can kill you and it is problematic. Let's for a moment accept the narrative that they have given us. Doing what they have done, they have now increased the spread of the virus. Because by
exactly.
having these lockdowns, the way that they have orchestrated these things, they have caused a flood of people to flood to the grocery store when it would have been spread out over days and days and days. Some go on Wednesday, some on Monday, some on Tuesday, whatever. And even if they went on the same day, it's an easy flow going in and out because there's no rush. No, everybody rushed to Western Union to go collect the little money before the lockdown start and before the curfew come. Everybody run to the grocery store to go and buy before the curfew start or the lockdown is initiated. And so what you have done, you have created a mass spreader in these situations. Then they're going to go home now and
Yes.
lock down nicely
That's
with
why
their
I said
family. They're going to go home
That's
and
why I
lock
said
down
it's
nicely
having
with
the
their
reverse
family.
effect.
Yes,
What they're
yes.
saying that they're trying to prevent, that is what they're creating. And
Mhm.
and I don't know.
And so when they do
Where's the
that now, Mr.
logical
Rowe, when they do that now,
thinking?
Mr. Rowe, when they go and test now, when they go and test, of course the numbers are gonna go up. Because if you have
Yes.
if you have shifted the narrative from wear your mask, wash your hands, and social distance 6 feet apart, and you now change the narrative and say, oh, we're so indisciplined. What I want to be done now, I'm going to lock you down now, more force. I'm going to lock you down. So, all these people who were focused on wearing their masks, washing their hands, and social distancing, their focus shift. Their focus now is make sure I go get my stuff, my shopping done, my pharmacy pickup done, my bill payment done, and my collection from Western Union done. Let me hurry up and do these without paying attention now to mask, washing hand and social distancing. Let me hurry up and go and pay these and get these out of the way so I can go and lock down. So what they have done now, they have shifted the people's mind from doing the things that they say we should do to creating the very indiscipline that they talk about, which will then create more spreading. And then when they go and test the people, Mr. Rowe, they will now find more cases to report and said overnight the cases have jumped by 200 and 300 when it's by their policy, it's by their own policy that this is happening. I see Mr. Robert is on. Mr. Robert, welcome, sir. Can you hear me? Mr. Robert. Mr. Robert. But I tell them, when they're coming on, to make sure that their video is on and their audio is on. But I don't think people follow instructions when you give it. So let me take off Mr. Robert and back to you, Mr. Rowe. So you're right. It's a reverse. The very reverse is happening, but maybe that's the intention, isn't it? Maybe that's the
Right now,
intention. Hmm.
um, there's another part. There's something else that I'd like to bring to the fore.
Yes.
All right. I, as a Jamaican, I am somewhat comfortable knowing that we have had a history of being able to democratically change administrations.
Hmm.
Well, let's say that for now.
Hmm.
Yeah, that
Yes.
we haven't had coups and those
Yes.
very dangerous insurrections over quite a comfortable period of years.
Hmm.
The last election, we had a covenant with this present administration that
Yes.
we would be afforded the opportunity. Mind you, we know there's some level of politics in it, to sleep with our windows and our doors open.
Hmm.
All right. Crime is rampant here in Jamaica right now. It
Yes.
is a more dangerous killer than the actual virus. But we
Hmm.
are not seeing that focus, that interest in curbing crime,
But before you go, though,
doing things
let me
that
pick
we
up
know
on your
can work.
first. Let me pick up on your first statement, though, Mr. Rowe. You spoke about the democratic process that Jamaica has been experiencing a democratic process for some time now. As a matter of fact, the democratic process that we're talking about began in 1944 with the first election that we have had under what is called self governance. And since that first election in 1944, over 76 years ago, we have been electing two political parties in particular, alternately. And I know we refer to that as democracy, but I want to ask you, is it really a
No, no, I
democracy?
say, if you hear what I said, let's
Yes.
say that for now.
Okay,
That's
good.
what I said.
Because, right,
Let's call it
because
that for now.
call it that for now. Okay. So
Yes,
so so I want to tell our viewers that we're just calling it that for now because it might not
exactly.
actually be. So go ahead, continue. Your next point was that crime is bigger than COVID. But what's your
Yes,
question now?
crime is a more, we can see the numbers,
Yeah, the
because
number
the
of
numbers
deaths,
is there.
the number of deaths are greater than COVID. Yes,
Versus that of crime.
yes,
It's crime as the deaths way out of control. And we
yes.
are not seeing that effort. We are seeing this effort to vaccinate the whole nation.
Hmm.
Yeah. On and something
But
in this age of information, we are not privileged to know what's in that serum
mm.
that we are
But
being
hold on.
offered.
Hold on. Let's
Um,
narrow this down, though, Mister. Narrow this down. So your first thing, crime. This government, this existing government, has spent billions on the crime problem. They have done with crime what they're now doing with COVID. They have set up states of emergencies. They have set up zones of special operations. And they have had our police and even soldiers running up and down the country, setting up checkpoints and aggressively incarcerating our young men from various communities and keeping them without charge for some time and releasing them back without charge into society, having having interfered. I think you have a phone going there. Turn off that phone, Mr. Rowe. Yes. So uh, they have had so they have spent money on crime, right? The point I'm making is this though, is that it has not worked. They have spent
Yeah.
billions on
Well, I
crime
am
and it
not saying
hasn't
that
worked.
they haven't spent money on crime in a call. Look
Mhm.
here.
Yeah.
There's a narrative here in Jamaica that anything that you want to
Mhm.
achieve, you spend money on it. That's not it. It's cooperation.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you going to do to have the citizen cooperate? They have to, you have to win their trust, knowing that whatever you're doing is in their best interest.
Mhm.
We have not been seeing that in this nation, regardless of which are the two administrations have been in place. Because
Mhm.
I would say that when I was speaking of the so-called democratic process that has caused administrations to change hand seamlessly or peacefully, what I'm saying is that they have been tolerated because we really have we have a nation of good people, you know. By and large, largely people want to live in peace. People would surrender all some things in order to get peace. But we are seeing where even that little leverage that we had, it's being cut into now. Yeah. And
Mhm.
it's being done in such a covert way that it's only those who are able to think critically, which are being censored. Yeah.
Mhm.
Because I'm telling you that if you call any of these talk shows
Mhm.
on radio and you
Yes.
try to initiate a discussion surrounding questioning what is happening, you'll be you'll be told that you're talking rubbish. Um,
Mhm.
and they'll find a way. Sir, so what? Oh, okay. Sorry, he's gone. They cut
Yeah.
you off.
Right, but let's for the purpose of our listeners, so let's see if we can get one topic at a time. Because you've mentioned a lot of things there, right? So I agree with you that the traditional media is not conducive to the interest of the people. For example, the UIC, the political party that I represent as leader and president, doesn't get invited and doesn't get included in any of the discussion. They have taken a decision without saying so that we're not to be interviewed, we're not to be allowed on air. So the Jamaican people doesn't get to hear from us. So I feel your pain when you call into these talk shows. If you're not speaking the same language, if you're not using the same narrative, speaking from the same hymnal that they are, then you are going to be dismissed. The UIC as a political party is not getting any um, access to the media because they don't want our voices to be heard. They don't want the voice of the people to be heard. They want to make sure we only hear from the other two. But hold on. Let's go back then to this issue of democracy. What is a democracy? According to uh, common understanding, a democracy is one man, one vote. But what people don't understand, your vote doesn't mean nothing if you don't control the nomination process. Meaning, who are you voting for? And the way the system is structured in Jamaica, the only two nominees that matters is the nominees of the two major parties. So if a person wants to run for office and have any chance of being elected in our so-called democracy, you have to join one of the two uh, traditional political parties. And when you join those, you are going to become one of their members and must identify with their philosophy, with their history, and with their direction. Now, what does that mean? These are the same two parties who are responsible for getting rid of the Marcus Garvey Party. These are the same two parties who are responsible for introducing the gun culture in Jamaica. These are the same two parties who created the garrison communities in Jamaica. These are the same two parties who created the debt burden that we have that's suffocating Jamaica. These are the same two parties who have sold out and are selling out our assets to foreign interest, while more and more Jamaicans are getting poorer. So the question has to be, when one join one of these parties, what are you doing? You're pretty much joining the problem. Now, how does an alternative party
Exactly.
like the UIC is going to come about and succeed? Well, let's see. Every party needs financial resources if they're going to be able to engage the people. For example, the media won't give us any free coverage, so we have to buy coverage. We have to find money to go into communities, to spread the word, to talk to people, engage people, organized society. That requires money. Now, the private sector organization of Jamaica, the big companies in the PSOJ, they give large sums of monies to these two major parties, which means they have confidence in these two parties. They believe in what these two parties represent and are doing. They're happy with what these two parties are doing. So there you have it. The two parties and the largest possessors of money in Jamaica are in one accord. So their economic model is working for them. Now it's the rest of us who are left out, the vast majority of Jamaicans. If we're going to have a third political party that's going to undermine the failing system and create a better one, then we, the people, have to fund such a political party. We have to fund it with our time, even if we don't have money. Time and talent and effort, and with our small amounts of money. And that's how we're going to change the system. Otherwise, please note that the other two parties are fully funded. They have over 80 years of experience. They understand how to manipulate and how to lead the Jamaican people down the wrong path. I see Mr. Thompson trying to come in. Welcome, Mr. Thompson. How are you? How are you doing, sir? If you're talking, we can't hear you.
Can't can't hear me?
Now we can. Yes, sir. Welcome to the show.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just heading home from the grocery store. So I'm in
Okay.
Ontario. So it seems
Yes.
we're locked down, but I'm just coming from the grocery store. So, it looks like you guys are more locked down than us.
Yeah, we're suffering. We're suffering over here
Yeah.
from the lockdown. So this talk, by the way, Mr. Thompson, we
Hmm.
have Mr. Rowe on the line as well. The focus of this talk was supposed to be on what I call COVIDnomics. I wanted to explain to our listeners the economics behind COVID. And there are a few things that are happening in the way that governments around the world are approaching this. One is to force people to stay home, the other is to push a certain news and set of statistics. I call it fake news in order to manipulate our emotions. The other one is to lock down our businesses so that they can take away our financial independence. Because if you're broke, you just want to get out of the broken situation. You don't care what happened. Joke me if you must, so I can get out of it. There are job losses. Similarly, making us dependent on government. The government must give us $10,000 after 8 months or 6 months of lockdown. They'll give you $10,000, or they might give you $10,000 if you're a senior to go and take the vaccination. So the focus really of this is all about pushing us towards the vaccine. They put in travel bans and other restrictions, which is to force you into submission. They put bans on gatherings so that you feel lonely, you feel depressed, you feel hopeless. I've spoken to so many people. They feel depressed, they feel hopeless. Um, but why is this? Now, we do know that Jamaica, we don't make vaccines in Jamaica. We know that there are only a few countries who are making these vaccines. They're not countries, big businesses that operates globally anyways. Now, they have gotten a captive audience. Can you imagine if you had a product where almost every government in the world is forcing their citizens to buy your product by way of the government, right? Wouldn't that would make you a very wealthy person, because you have a the biggest buyer in the world, in any country, is the government, and they're going to buy your product and force the citizens to take it by almost any means necessary. So this COVID vaccine is turning out to be an excellent business proposition, an excellent method of achieving great wealth. Also, the lockdown mechanisms that are being put in place are serving a great purpose as well. Because what they're doing, they're making only certain kinds of companies very wealthy. So if you are a Jeff Bezos with Amazon, for example, and you can offer quick deliveries to individuals, then obviously, and you can shop online and the infrastructure is all there, then you're also finding yourself in a very wealthy position. So there is a lot of economic interest behind this, and the poor citizen is left holding the bag. I see we have Madame Gulrejani on as well. Welcome, Miss Gulrejani. How are you?
Hello, Mr. Patterson. I'm doing very well, sir. How are you?
Thank you so very much.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to the Money Doctor. We're talking about the COVIDnomics
Yes,
and
sir.
how the economics of COVID is working for some, rather a few, and how it's working against the vast majority. Do you have anything you'd like to contribute to the talk after Mr. Devon speaks? Because he just joined us and might have a few words you want to share with us as well.
Well, just glad to be here, and we're in full support of this broadcast. I don't have anything else to add at this time, perhaps later.
Thank you. For our viewers, this is the chairwoman of the UIC. I like to call her Madam Chair. Madam Chair joining us to lend her support to the show. And Mr. Devon Thompson up there, the top of your screen, right hand side, the Vice President from Middlesex, and Mr. Rowe. Mr. Rowe, are you a UIC supporter? By the way, I didn't even ask you if you're a UIC supporter. I'm not sure.
Uh-huh. I told you, of course I do support your movement.
Wonderful.
I
Our
and
movement, including you,
Indeed.
right? A
yes,
fluid
oh yes,
movement.
God, as I explained to you at the beginning, I'm telling you that that this movement is very important. It's timely,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and and to get it across to people, because people are very can be resistant to change. They have been
Mm-hmm.
used to some things over a period of time. There's
Mm-hmm.
even a saying in Jamaica that people stick to the evil that they know. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking them to remove themselves from the evil that they know
Yes,
right now.
yes.
Yeah,
Why stick with
by
evil? Why
turning
stick
to
with
the
evil?
UIC, and I'm saying that categorically, turn
Mm-hmm.
to the UIC. Yeah,
Excellent,
because
excellent. Yes.
there are a lot of things that I have, because I am one of those persons who have um I've also played a part in electing local government representative and parliamentary representative. I have done so
Mm-hmm.
because what I have done over time is
Mm-hmm.
I try to lean to that side which I call the lesser of the two evil.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at
Yes.
times I try to do things that I think would be convenient to
Mm-hmm.
the survival of myself and my family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because there was not an alternative
Right.
at the time. Now here is an alternative, and we are
Mm-hmm.
seeing much clearer what the whole political system is all about, because I have experienced this, and it's a bitter experience. It has been
Yes.
a bitter experience watching the UIC just trying to get registered. I
Yes.
mean, it has revolutionized my outlook on politics
Yes.
in Jamaica completely. Now
Yes.
I know for certain what the whole thing in this country is about. Everything is about politics. I mean, from
Absolutely.
music, everything. It's all about the connection that you have. And you have to be a part of a unit, a political unit. And if you're not getting that support, your thing or your intentions are going nowhere. Yeah. But I am
Right.
saying I would like people who would get a hold of even a footage like this to know that to take a look, and they'll see that they are a part of the majority that is counted out of this system. Yeah,
Yes.
you're not included, and especially if you're not what they call a public sector worker, because it seems as if the whole spoil, I'll call it that, yeah, from taxes, from whatever mean that the administration is able to gather monetary support for themselves, because that's what they actually do. They support themselves from the financial gains or financial contribution of everyone in the
Yeah.
society. Then they share it among a few. If you notice, even the teachers, the police, the doctors, they are, regardless of how what you would say, how times are hard, they are demanding their pound of steak, because I see where they're coming from. They're saying that they have helped to gather these funds, and they want theirs also. So
Right. Okay.
what they do
Yeah.
is have a organize a way of collecting from the masses, then they share it among a few.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let me hear
and
what. Let me hear
it's
what
not
the. Let me
looking good
hear,
to me.
Mr. Rowe. Let me hear the vice president of the UIC now, Mr. Thompson. Your turn.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, sorry, I
Yes,
had
we
to
can
drop off
hear.
because one of my phones died. Yeah,
Okay.
so I've been listening to the conversation, and one of the pain points, as I said in the comments, is surrounding media literacy, right? So one of the reasons why we are so easily misled is because we don't understand that. We don't understand the social cues or the emotional cues that are within media, right? So they say certain things to get an emotional response from you. So they've over time figured out a way how to weaponize that, right? So they've managed to weaponize it in their promotion of big business and their promotion of corporatism. So that's what we need to understand. We need to understand why they're doing this. They're not doing it because of some interest in the health of the population. They're doing this because they want more control. So I always explain to people, government is afraid of people. We can use the British monarch for example, or the French monarch, right? So the French monarchy was taken down by citizens, right? They were all removed and some of them killed, right? So the British. So Robert says the key. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'll take care of it. Don't worry.
Okay. So the British monarch, they were always afraid of their people. So what they did was they provided a little bit of scarce benefits here and there to their citizens, right? So sorry, I lost my chain of thought because I saw a message from Robert. Yeah. So they're afraid. They're usually afraid of their citizens, right?
Yeah.
So they have to ensure that they have something in place to hold those citizens down, because whenever citizens rise up, someone either tends to get hurt or their government gets taken out of power, right? So it's back to the original argument of corporatism. Many
Yeah.
Jamaicans, via this same media, and not just Jamaicans, many people in the world think that the Great Reset is a conspiracy theory because the media told them so. But then I go on the World Economic Forum's website and I look up
Mhm.
the Great Reset, and it's right there, plain as day, on the World
Mhm.
Economic Forum website, right? So they have a system set up where they said that they're going to be resetting the world's economy. And Joseph, you should
Mhm.
understand this. They want to reset the world's economy because the existing system that we have right now is failing, and they can't manage it anymore. They can't control it anymore. So they're losing
Mhm.
control. So the Great Reset is all about gaining control, which is why you have, for example, Andrew Holden is setting up the ENDS system, right? It's basically
Mhm.
taking control of the online market in Jamaica, right? And then in other countries, you find that, for example, Canada, where I'm at right now, they're shutting down small businesses in favor of big business. So
Yeah,
many big
but
businesses right now are suffering. And
yeah.
Amazon, Walmart, Costco, they're taking over the market in droves.
Mhm.
And these are the same people that everybody, the same companies that everybody likes to hate. Yet
Mhm.
we're increasing their power every single day,
But
right?
earlier you said though, Devon, you said that they're losing control or they were losing control. I don't think they're losing control. I think they just want more control
Mm-hmm.
because they have been since 1944 when they changed the monetary system. They have been controlling us. Now, what is happening is that monetary system, for example, is about to explode because
Yeah.
if you do a bad thing long enough, it builds up. The pressure builds up, and then the balloon is going to burst. You can either let the balloon burst and everybody see the flaws in the system and say, "Oh my gosh, it's because it's because you were doing this why the balloon burst," or you can now use what they call now what we have today, which is a uh, COVID has given them a good excuse, if you will, to
An
say
opportunity
an
to
opportunity.
use their words, an opportunity.
Exactly. And they said you must not waste a good opportunity. That this is how they look at our misfortunes. So
Mhm.
for example, one of the things they're doing now is they're creating a digital currency for the US. The US government is investing in a digital currency to take advantage of the opportunity. Andrew is taking advantage of the opportunity to push in NIDS or to push in ends, right? So
and
everybody
they're
looks
and
at.
they're also going to do a digital currency as well in Jamaica.
Yes, exactly. So everybody is looking at our misfortune as an opportunity. And they even tell us that. And we, the people, accept it. So we are like just little collateral damages. You can just do whatever you want with us because every time there's a problem, it's an opportunity. Now, you would think that in the midst of a so called pandemic, the focus would be entirely on protecting the citizens and protecting their lives. But instead, all the governments around the world are a part of a big reset plan, if you will, that they're changing the systems and structures in their governments to foster and promote a new reality and a reality that a small set of people, a small group, wants for the rest of us. So here's what they would like. They would like every transaction you would do, they can know how much it was and with whom it was. And so they can know exactly what your transactions are, when you did it, who you did it with, how much it was, and what you purchased. Now, a digital currency will allow them to do that. The next thing they'll do is they'll set up policies that says treat Miss Gulrajani a certain way based on her purchases. Treat Devon a certain way based on his purchases. So if you buy, let's say they decide that if you buy carrots and vegetables, you're a good person. So give him a good score. If he buys beer and cigarette, he's a bad person, for example. So give him a low score. If he donates to the Liberal Party or he donates to the Conservative Party or he donates to the Republican Party, give him this score. And so now with the electronics, they're able to score you and determine how to treat you. They can lock off some features. They can lock off, for example, they can say, you have been a bad boy, Devon. We're going to lock off your account for now. You can't make any purchases. You've been a bad boy. You understand what I'm saying? So where this is heading is actually communism. We thought we had overcome communism.
So,
We thought
Joseph,
long ago. Yes. Uh-huh.
have you ever watched an episode of Black Mirror?
No, never.
All right. So you see when you're done this live, and Camille
Yes.
as well, and everybody watching, when you're done, just
Yes.
go watch Black Mirror, because everything that we're talking about now, they spoke
Yes.
about in Black Mirror.
Right.
So
Yeah.
the reason why I said that they're losing control is because much of the things created by technology is unprecedented. One of
Yeah.
those things is our freedom of speech or voice. Our voice
Yes.
got louder
Yes.
with
Exactly.
social
Yes.
media. So
Yes.
I don't think that they expected that, right? So because
Hmm.
our voice got louder, they had to find some way to knock it down a little bit, take a hammer and just
I
knock it down.
follow. I
And
follow.
that's
But
why,
yeah.
yeah, that's why when Facebook or when Google or whatever it is went public, you
Hmm.
have you have common shareholders, right?
Hmm.
And these are the same shareholders across these companies. So if I
Yes.
know they're using their power as shareholders in this company,
Hmm.
knock
Right.
down your voice. So when you post
Stakeholder.
something, Joseph, yeah,
Stakeholder. What they call it? Stakeholder. What? Sta-
stakeholder capitalism.
Stakeholder capitalism. I see Robert is on. Sir Robert, do you have anything to say? Turn on your microphone if you want to.
So before Robert talks, I'm
Yes,
gonna be jumping out. So but
No
I'll be
problem.
tuning in
Take
from
care.
Facebook. Okay?
Yeah,
All
man.
right.
All the best. Respect.
great.
Mr. Robert.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Loud and clear.
I'd like to begin by commending the UIC for their efforts of bringing information to the public. Because from information, you can get knowledge. And
Yes.
with knowledge, you can get an understanding of what is happening. This that we live in the information age now. And the person who is informed or misinformed will find that the informed will capture and manipulate them. In fact,
Yes.
with information now, we can accomplish what Napoleon's army could have dreamed only to accomplish
Mhm.
by having the information. So I think that
Yes.
what you're doing here is very, very critical for the process, you know.
Yeah.
I think that the people are in great danger. There's a clear and present danger facing the Jamaican people at this
Hmm.
time. And one of the big problems is that people, information is out there, you know, but people
Hmm.
are stopped in their tracks by a simple expression, conspiracy theory.
Hmm.
Anything that the globalists don't want you to investigate, and some people
Hmm.
are lazy, they'll just take what they mean. They add conspiracy theory to it.
Right.
But there is also conspiracy facts. And when people are coming to you with facts, you are dismissing them
Yes.
because of this labeling of conspiracy theory. And it's very dangerous because
Yes.
so called educated and informed people are
Hmm.
just, I mean, people are taking the vaccine and I ask them, do you know what is in the vaccine? They have an idea. They have
Yeah.
an idea, right?
Yes.
And it's
And
like,
they have no idea. They have no. The truth is,
absolutely,
most of us have never done chemistry just a beginning. We've never done chemistry, nor have we taken the time to understand any form of chemical composition or how any of it works. We have taken medications all our lives. We take an aspirin. We don't know any of the aspirin. We take a pill for this. We go to the doctor. He writes the prescription with some kind of very fancy name on it. You can't even pronounce it, and we just go and we fill the
you
prescription.
can't even
Now,
read it.
you can't even read it. You can't even read the handwriting. And you trust the pharmacist and you trust the doctor. Now, that is the level of dumbing down that we have done to humanity, where we have learned to give up our responsibility to think for ourselves, to reason for ourselves, to ask questions that are probing, to reach inferences from data and from other sets of information. And as a result of this, we have now come to a place where all a group of people have to do is to take, suppose tomorrow they told us that the common flu was dangerous and told us that so many people died, which would have been true, by the way, because people have died from the flu. But we never used to wake up every day to hearing that the flu is very dangerous, and we've never woke up every day with a running statistics of the number of flu patients that exist in the world. But if they suddenly told us that, then they would have changed our behavior towards the situation. And so where we are now in this particular potential conspiracy issue is that we have learned to trust traditional media, even though we have enough information to tell us that we shouldn't. We have learned to trust politicians, even though we have enough information to tell us that we shouldn't. Take, for example, the current Prime Minister of Jamaica. Have we seen a number of examples where he tried to skirt the checks and balances that exist in our existing system? Have we seen, for example, where he tried to get senators to sign undated resignation letters so that when it pleased him, he could have used it to push them out if they don't do what he wanted to do? Have we seen where he tried to manipulate the Chief Justice so that when it suits him, he could have gotten the Chief Justice to behave the way he wanted him to behave? Have we seen where...
The 75 years, the 75 years
Yes.
of access to information bar.
Exactly. The 75 years he wanted to prevent us from knowing and seeing and reading what has happened. And also what he has done with NIDS, how he tried. Any well-thinking person reading that bill should have been very worried about what this meant for the Jamaican people, particularly in a system of governance that is as highly corrupt as this is. But instead of the Prime Minister building our confidence, he has caused us to be very concerned about his intentions. Now, in this position of a pandemic, we have seen where he seems to relish the opportunity to be dictatorial. He wasn't inclusive. He didn't use the opportunity to say, let's create an inclusive, coordinated solution where he takes into counsel a number of stakeholders and move it out of the political realm into a threat against our nation, right? Like a wartime council, where you move away from the politics to let's focus on here's a national threat. Let's come together and have a transparent
management call for community-based action, you know?
Exactly. And he did not pursue that. And so, to me, it is very clear that the Prime Minister is following the marching orders of something other than the best interest of Jamaica. And when I'm because I'm also a Canadian citizen, and I have lived and traveled around the world. What I've noticed by following all the other news outlets, that the Prime Minister of Jamaica seems to do a cut and paste job. He takes what's being done over here and he just pastes it over here. And then I found out later on that a script was given to almost all the world leaders and say, here's the script that you're going to follow. Now, if our Prime Minister, if our government is merely following a script, then we know it's not looking at our interests. For example, when you tell children to stay home, you're going to shut down our school system and you must stay home and you must do online learning. When you as Prime Minister, you as government know that Jamaica doesn't have that infrastructure. Most of our children do not have easy access to the kind of data, internet data, to be able to support continuous online learning. Most do not have the technology that is going to allow them for efficiently and effectively learning. Many live in substandard housing arrangements, which may not be conducive for learning. Many communities across the island suffer from regular electricity outage, on and off, unstable, and all these things. Many of their parents, we have been graduating the majority of our parents being substandard, meaning not having the kind of academic achievement that you would need as a parent to be a good supervisor of your child. So if you know all of this as Prime Minister and as government, how do you make policies that seems to be daft to that reality and expect that this is going to be good for our country? Back to you, Mr. Robert.
Yeah. Well, I have one last little point to make.
Yes.
And if you buy a blender and it has a manufacturer's fault, you can take it back. If you buy a car and there's a thing, they recall them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you have an accident because of a bad design, you can sue them. With this vaccine, which is dealing with your well, it's not about vaccine. I'll come back to that.
Right. A treatment. This
But
treatment.
this gene therapy, which they are
Yes.
pushing, AstraZeneca, if something goes wrong with it, as has been the history of vaccines, with even those that have had many years of pre-testing and checking, still have problems. If something goes wrong with this vaccine, quote unquote vaccine, who are you going to call?
Yes.
They're injecting the police, security forces, the medical professionals, right? Not on the basis that they are immune weak, but for some following the pattern globally.
Yes.
Something happens in 8 months' time where the police can't service because of illness, the medical professionals can't service, and then the public gets ill. Who are you going to call? Ghostbusters. Must be the
Yes.
Ghostbusters, because you're
Absolutely.
being a problem.
Yes.
And you know, to me, people are just not thinking. Why are you
I am not feeling and seeing where even our medical practitioners have been brought to the table to have a serious discussion around this issue, an open discussion, a frank discussion, not a tailor-made discussion to support the government's position or to support the World Health Organization position, but have a true dialogue. Because I've seen medical professionals in Jamaica who question both the the treatment that is being advertised and the response that the government has pursued and its impact. And we don't seem to encourage and facilitate that and to hear from our own experts in terms of what is the thinking, what's the analysis. Instead, we're just following exactly what somebody else from outside of us give us. And for years, that has been the Jamaican approach, the foreign approach. Whatever the foreign gods tell us to do, we just do them.
It's
I'll,
a
I'll
mental slavery, you know?
yeah, let me shift it for a little bit. Take, for example, marijuana.
Mm.
We have allowed the world, right? Not the world, the powers that be to tell us that marijuana is bad and we should outlaw it and we should pass laws that criminalize our people. And for decades, we have criminalized Jamaicans for wanting to grow, use, or sell um, a plant, a plant. And now, suddenly, our foreign masters, they decided that it's no longer going to be illegal in some of their jurisdictions, and more their jurisdictions are opening up to say it is legal. But what have we done here in Jamaica? Now we start to dabble with saying maybe it's let's take it off or whatever. But how do we do it? We make sure that we simply do not say we were wrong and tell the people that we were wrong for following our foreign masters in this. And now we're going to give you your human rights to grow, plant, consume, and sell this product if you so desire, without government interfering, except you should use force or fraud to advance your cause. And here you see clearly again that the government does not work in the interest of Jamaicans, but in the interest of somebody else. You have foreigners coming in to control our marijuana industry. You have government putting in restrictions that prevents the smallest of persons, the small man, to be able to have his fair share to the best of his ability. He must be restricted by policy, restricted by regulation, restricted by fees and costs to prevent him from being able to simply get involved in an industry which should be his to get involved in. So they do that with marijuana. You look at the homosexual issue. We have laws in our books that speaks to buggery. Where did those laws come from? They came from our foreign masters, not from us, because our laws were given to us by our foreign masters. Then our foreign masters wake up one day and say, no, it should no longer be a bad thing. It should be a good thing. And then now our politicians now have to be, what do we do? Because the culture of the people have been set by one way, and they're now being demanded by their foreign masters to change the rules again. And that has cost at least one prime minister some of his foreign masters' support. Now, it's time for Jamaica to stop this. It's time for us to become our own master. We must become masters of our own destiny and start thinking for ourselves, reasoning for ourselves. So, for example, COVID, let us have a Jamaican response to COVID, not a foreign response. For example, Jamaica is a warm country, a tropical country. We have sunlight and salt sea and whatever. Why block our people from going to the beach and from being outside in the sun by telling them to go home and stay home? Maybe that's the wrong approach. Now, I'm not an expert, but I'm saying, why don't we look for a Jamaican solution where we take the time to think, analyze, and plan based on our context and stop simply following a cut and paste, which is destroying our people, destroying our children, destroying our economy because we're blindly following something that somebody else think we should follow.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
On that very note, it would be good if the UIC could sponsor a forum titled The Jamaican Response.
Yes.
But there are
yes.
doctors, private doctors, who are pushing for example, ivermectin to be in the public system,
Yes.
which can be used as a prophylaxis, that is a preventative or a treatment. So that
Yes.
the lockdowns and so on are not necessary, and the panic and the fear. Of course, this would derogate from the vaccine road, but I mean, it's our
Yeah.
interest first. So
And
I
we can
think
be different. Yeah,
I
we can
think
look at Cuba. Cuba. I mean, by the way, I am totally anti-communist. And everybody knows me. I'm anti-socialist. I'm anti-communist. I am for freedom. I want people to be free to make their own choices. But look at little Cuba under embargo for somewhat 60 years, right? 50 years, almost 60 years.
59
And
years.
they're always helping us out. Them can provide us nurses and doctors. Them can come up with vaccine. Little Cuba, right there, under embargo for so many years. And all we can do as a country is always with our arms outstretched, begging, please help us.
So much talent and resources,
Exactly.
It should-
We are more than 14 times the size of Singapore. We were richer than Singapore in 1965 when they became independent, three years after us. We had roughly the same GDP per capita, about $550 per capita back in 1965. Singapore had linguistic problems because they have some 3 to 4 different languages groups, right? They had religious issues, many different, at least 3 or 4 different religions. They were suffering from significant communist insurgency in their country. Most of their people were transient, so they didn't have the kind of roots that we Jamaicans had by how many years of slavery. And from 1965 to 1995, they moved from third world to first world. And let's define what that means. They had a very safe environment. They had a very clean environment. They had a very orderly environment. And they have very little in the way of political corruption. And their GDP per capita grew from 550 to 65,000 US dollars per person, while Jamaica grew at the time from 550 to only 3,500 US dollars per person. They're smaller than St. Thomas, and they have none of our natural resources. But one wise thing they did, which we have not done, their government focused on building the intellectual capital of their people. And because their intellectual capital was good, they could then become an open, industrialized country that could welcome the rest of the industrialized world to their shores and do business with them. What our leaders have done is to keep us intellectually anemic as a people, and therefore are able to be controlled by the political elite and the business elite to keep us as majority substandard labor and substandard citizens, disconnected from the governance of our country and not even knowing enough to demand the quality public service and the quality environment that we deserve to have and should have. And that's why today now that they're going to blame us now that we're indisciplined. Who created the indiscipline? Who made us as indisciplined as we are? Who it is that had us hanging out of buses on campaign with our foot and head out and making noise and jumping up and down? Who gave us sticks and stones and then gun to go and run up and down and kill each other and attack each other? Who it is that create the corrupt system that we have by making our regulations so difficult and onerous and giving gatekeepers the keys that if they don't get paid off, people can't move from one point to the next to get their business done. They're the ones who create the Jamaica we have today. And now they want to blame dancehall music and the Jamaican people for the crime and corruption and scandalous arrangements that we have in Jamaica. It's time for us to rise up, Mr. Robert. What do you say to that?
100%, because I mean, they created a bungle society. You have to bungle in the taxi, you have to bungle in the minibus, you have to bungle in the market.
Yes.
Everywhere you go is bungle because
After
the
Bongo.
infrastructure, the communities,
Yes.
ghettos are bungle. People, 15 people in one whole room and so on.
Exactly. I mean, Mr. Robert, this government takes about 40% of GDP. They're eating 40% of our money, roughly 40%. In Canada, they take roughly the same amount, about 40%, 38 to 40% of GDP they take in Canada. Okay, but the Canadian people can sleep with their doors open, and they can sleep with their windows open. They don't spend additional taxes on putting grills and burglar bars around their homes. And they don't have a crime rate that is half as drastic as ours. They have a very low crime rate. So where's this money going? I tell you where it's going. A very inefficient government where you have all kind of political activists eating our money without producing anything. So they have all these public bodies, right? Lots of public bodies, and they stack their political cronies on these public bodies, talking about their directors sitting on boards, simply eating taxpayers' money without producing anything. They create associations, banana boards, and coconut boards to eat our money while not developing our coconut product or our banana product or our coffee product to being world class and to being efficient and effective so that we can trade better. Instead, all they have done is put roadblocks after roadblocks. You want to export, roadblocks. You want to import, roadblocks. You want to bring in a new industry, roadblock. Everything is politics. If you're not willing to go play to suck up to some politician, you can't move your project forward. Right? You have to stay small and anemic. If you want to go big, you need to go through them. And to go through them, you have to play their game. And the game is what's in it for me? What is in it for my party? If me can't see how this can benefit, me winning the next election and my party, it can't move. I've done business in Canada for many years, and not once have I had to go and meet with a member of parliament. Not once did I have to go to any kind of political position or persons. I just deal with a very transparent and straightforward system that says, here are the requirements. Do you meet it? Yes or no? If you meet it, you go through the gate. You don't need to go pay off nobody. You don't need to go friend up nobody. You don't need to go beg any politician any favor. You can move your project forward. Jamaica need that kind of system. And that's what the UIC is going to bring in. We're going to make Jamaica a country that allows Jamaicans of any strata to move through without anybody getting in their way, as long as they're not using force or fraud. No violence. As long as you're an upstanding, decent, law-abiding citizen, rich or poor, you must be able to go through the gate once you meet the standard requirements that apply to everybody equally all the time.
Well, I want to close my comment by saying we must not waste a crisis.
Yes.
This is time for the UIC to really defend the people. And I think that forum would be a good start. There are people here, medical, scientific people, economists who see the big picture and could make a good contribution.
Good point. I mean, I think we can definitely do a forum on Jamaica response to the COVID crisis. But in terms of the bigger picture of the UIC making a bigger dent on it, it requires people like yourself, and I think you are involved, and others. If more of us step up, because it's a lot of work, Sir Robert. It's a lot of work.
You don't have to tell me.
And a lot of work.
I'm in touch with Winston,
yes.
And I am committed to giving whatever support I can.
Yes. For example, we're working on a project right now called the Constitution Project, where we're putting together a team of people to start to write the new constitution, because Jamaica has never had its own constitution. What we have is a colonial document that dictates all kind of foolishness, which puts the Queen above us. So the UIC is writing a Jamaican
I'm
constitution.
willing to support that initiative.
Yes, good.
Because
And we're
I
also
have
we have we have another group as well that is looking at all of the different policy areas, from environment to economics to education to healthcare, and we have a bigger plan already. The big plan, which is the major thrust of the country, but then you have to go now and fill in the smaller pieces that fit into the plan and the full strategy. But we need more hands on deck. We need more money. We need more volunteers. And so please encourage all your friends and family to consider helping to create this real new Jamaica, because
You
I
need to
can't do it
give me
alone.
a window, give me a person.
Yes.
So I can work with Winston or somebody
Yes,
else.
man. Winston is your person. Yes, Winston is the vice president for Cornwall County, and he's also spearheading the operations of the UIC. While Mr. Thompson, who is the vice president for Middlesex, he spearheads the outreach, marketing, public relations side of it, and Vice President Mrs. Williams, Mackenzie Williams, she's spearheading the financial fundraising side of the organization. So we have a lovely team, and the team just need to continue to expand until we take over the entire country and return it to the Jamaican people for the first time in the history of the nation. So thanks again, Mr. Robert Carr.
No problem.
Appreciate you coming on. Take
Yeah.
care. All the best. Take care. Bye-bye. So, people, there you have it. That was Mr. Robert. I see we have somebody else on. Shernet, can you hear me, Shernet? All right, Shernet is on, but she's not on. But yes, so the main topic today was the COVID economics. I want to thank all of you who were on and for your contribution, Mr. Carr, Ms. Kulrejani, Mr. Thompson. Earlier we had Mr. Rowe as well. Thanks to all of you for your contribution. Until next time, this is the Money Doctor, President of the UIC. Thanks again and take care. Bye-bye.